Good morning everyone, welcome to our small footprint. It is Saturday morning. I was supposed to be getting the food hamper today, so I was going to share that today, but there was some issues with the truck, so it won't be arriving today. It'll be next week, which is vaguely inconvenient because I'll be getting back from Brisbane on the Friday with the 6 weeks worth of groceries and then have the hamper turn up on the Saturday, so it's going to cause some logistic errors, it's going to be a bit inconvenient. But anyway, that is the way it fell, so that's how we'll deal with it. So I'll share the grocery haul with you on whenever, and then the food hamper haul as well. But I thought I'd come out. It got down to -3 last night, so it's a really nice hard frost. So I've got a few things that I need to get done, but I also wanted to share some updates on the loofahs, which we weren't sure what was going to happen with them drying out, in the fact that they were going to be exposed to the weather a real lot. So we've had some of them go moldy, some of them dry out. I'll take you in and I'll give you a look at how they're going. I'm going to have to discard some of the moldy ones, I think, because I don't want them to contaminate the others, and I think it's too late once they've got visible mold anyway. So, but that's life. They can go in the compost pile, and that's fine. Some of them have dried out really well though, so we'll share that. Now I'm out in the garden because I keep on forgetting I need to prune down my asparagus. Here, all this yellowing behind me. So what I need to do is cut all of this back to ground level so that I can put some fresh compost and feed on it, and then put some more straw on it so that it can pop back through in spring. So I'm going to cut all this down to the base so that we can have a good look at what the crowns have been doing. I'm looking at buying some more crowns because I'd like to do a second garden bed, probably out where the chook pen is, where I'm going to put the berry trees. Might do another row of asparagus, because I think you can never have enough asparagus, and perennials are great. So that's something that I'm really trying to focus on, is some more perennials to add to our gardens and stuff, to make things a little easier food wise, without, we'll always do our annuals, we'll always do potatoes, and we'll always do tomatoes and things like that, but having some more perennials would be really nice as well. So I'm going to trim all this down, and then I'll show you what it looks like, and we can have excuse me, we can have a look at what the crowns did, how many spears they threw up and everything. But yeah, so let me turn you around and give you a look at it before. So this is what it looks like when it grows up, and these spears come up out of each crown along the ground. There's a couple here too. This one didn't grow as well. This is parsley in the middle here, and then each crown sends up these shoots. And throughout the summer you harvest the spears that are nice and healthy looking that you want to eat, but towards the end of the season you let them go to fern, and that's what this is called. This is called ferning, the way it's done. So then once it's ferned, all that goodness from the green is going back into the crown to produce you more for next year. So, but once the frosts hit, they go sad and dead, and they need to be cut back, and then that way, once we've cut them back, I can refeed the soil and remulch them ready for next year. So I'm going to trim these all back, and then I will give you a look at it afterwards. Alrighty, so there we go. So all of them have been pruned back. Sun's causing issues here. We have 6 crowns in this bed, so each little clump was where a crown was planted, and I think I probably planted them vaguely wrong, which is why they're clumping so badly in one spot, but they will spread each year as they go, and I know more for the next time I plant them. We planted these when we first set up this garden, so 2 years ago. I had a lot less experience of what I was doing, and we do have issues with rodents digging into the beds and things like that, creating some issues with the soil, lots of that sort of thing. So anyway, I'm going to get some of the active grow that we use, which is the compost soil mix, nice high quality stuff, and I'm going to put probably 3 or 4 bags across this bed to give it some nutrients, and then I will mulch it as well for the rest of the season, and hopefully when it starts warming up we'll start seeing spears come up that we can eat. So this year we should get a pretty decent harvest. I think this is our 3rd year, and then the new bed that I start we won't be able to harvest from for a couple of years, because that's how it goes. You have to have the crowns in for probably 2 years before you really get much to harvest. This patch of parsley is going really well too. I had read that parsley was good underneath asparagus, so I did that, but I think I need to really cut that back a bit. We have some of this second batch of garlic that I planted coming up, and it's coming up quite well. The other stuff I'll show you in a minute, but the other stuff, the plants are coming through really quite spindly, and it was still good quality garlic. I am wondering if I planted it according to what they say to plant it, but maybe because our hard frosts don't hit till a bit later, this later planting is better because there's a lot that still haven't popped up, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. And the ones that are popping up really sturdy. So this bed might do a lot better than the other one, and it might be that slightly later planting time, though the bed is very wet and garlic doesn't like wet feet, but with all the rain and stuff we've had, we'll have to see how it goes. But yeah, it's coming up really, really nice and strong. This is the other garlic bed. So I've got a lot that are coming through, but a lot of them are quite spindly, and they're getting a lot of damage from the guinea fowl or whatever else is coming through here, because it doesn't have any cover at the moment or any fencing. So we'll see how this goes. But we've got most of the bed has popped up. We'll just have to see how it goes. Whatever we get, we get. We must have just enough cover in here for a lot of these herbs to do well, because I really thought sage died off in frosts, but we've got some fairly healthy growth here still, all curled up in amongst the rosemary and the lavender here, so they must just be sheltered enough that they're coping, because it got to negative 3.2 last night. This lemon balm too, I really thought that lemon balm died off in the frost, but it mustn't. So I definitely need to come out and, when it's dried off a bit, and harvest a whole bunch of this and dry it for teas, because it needs to be cut back anyway, and it tastes really nice in tea, so we'll do that as well. I can see I've just spotted over here, let me see if I can get the camera, might have to walk around, but there's a little kale plant in there. Most of them got eaten by the rodents, but that one actually has kale leaves, so that's kind of exciting. I will have to keep an eye on that one. The other thing we've been working on is our solar array that we got up recently, this secondary one. We had some issues with the first inverter that we bought, so we bought some new ones, and we've been trying to work on getting this up and going, so that if I decide that I want to buy the thermomix, we've got the ability to use it on power, but also for using my dehydrator would be really nice. So we've been working on getting that going. So what we've done is we got a new inverter and charge controller. Let me turn you around. So this is what we've got set up at the moment. It's not finished, so ignore the wires for the moment. We haven't got it all cleaned up, but we've got the inverter, the charge controller, and we've got a combiner box, and this is the little monitor up the top here that tells us what's going on. So as you can see, there is power going into the batteries. The batteries are very unhappy with us at the moment because we ran them really low when we were trying to figure out the inverter that just would not work, but this is all working, and we only got this finished late yesterday, so there hasn't been much sun on the panels so far to charge the batteries back up. So hopefully once we hit full sun on these panels, it'll perk it all up, and we should be laughing. So this is a second-hand battery bank that we got. It's an old backup system that we got second-hand. The battery each cell appears to be fine. We will just wait and see how it copes. It did sit idle for a while we were figuring it out. But this is a 24 volt bank, 2 volt battery cells, and I think they're about a 500 amp hour battery, so it's about a 9-10 kilowatt bank. I'd have to do the maths, and it's too early for that. So we got the inverter, that just a 2000 watt one, because the plan is to use this for seedling mats, maybe a garden pump, the thermomix if I want to use it, and the dehydrator, things like that. So it doesn't need a huge amount of power draw at any one time. We'll limit what's on it at any one time. The charge controller is a 100 volt 40 amp charge controller, and the combiner box is just because we've got multiple strings. So we have 16 panels on this roof here, and they're old style panels, so they're about 45 volts each and 5.5 amps, which means that we have to run these 16 panels in strings of 2 to be able to cope, for this to be able to cope. So we have to combine them in the combiner box so that the voltage is at the right level for this charge controller. It's a bunch of maths that you have to figure out as you're going along. So this is our secondary system. The main system was built for us, but this one is the one that we've been building to use for those extra bits and pieces, and it seems to be working for the moment, so we shall see how we go. At the moment I think the panels are in a lot of shade, so let's go and have a look. Yeah, the panels are almost completely in shade at the moment. It's too early in the morning. The sun is sitting up there behind that tree there, so once it passes that tree line, it'll sit sort of in this blank space and it'll start hitting these panels. So the hard part with figuring out where to put the panels is that we are surrounded by trees, so we've had a lot of problems with trying to find somewhere that has sun consistently. And the sun tracking that we've done, we've run into the problem that you track the sun in one season and then you go to the next season and it's no longer relevant. You're supposed to have your panels facing somewhat north-ish, and on about a 50-degree angle, and that's supposed to be optimal to get power throughout the year and things like that. But with our tree lines, it really makes it difficult. So, and we just don't have a whole lot of choice either on where we can put panels. So we've got panels all over the roof of the main dwelling, but the problem is that we've been here for 4 years now, and some of the trees that weren't tall enough to shade our roof before now shade the roof. So now we are adjusting angles and locations of the panels on the roof to try and compensate for that, but it's an ongoing sort of a process that isn't the easiest to get right. So we're still working on that. We have tried to find like a blank space somewhere within the paddock around the house that we could have put this setup in, and there just wasn't anywhere that was consistently sunny. This spot here is fairly consistently sunny in summer, but it seems to be in winter it's quite late before that hits there, though I don't think it's particularly late. I don't know what time it is, let me check. 9 o'clock, so it's only early morning, so long as it's getting sun for a good part of the middle of the day, then that should be fine. So I will keep an eye on this one, and we'll come out and check that voltage meter to see what's going into the panels and keep an eye on it. But hopefully I'll be able to get these batteries back up to a proper voltage, and then we'll be able to test out using the thermomix on it or the dehydrator on it or something like that, and then we'll see how we go. I thought I'd show you too, because, you know, ups and downs. I tried to get a whole bunch of seedlings started to put out for some winter crops. These were kales and some sprouting broccolis and things like that, but the mice have just completely devoured them. They just chew all the leaves off to the stems and there's nothing I can do about it. So this hothouse needs to be sealed up better. But the plan is to turn this hothouse into guest quarters, so I just didn't want to do too much with it at the moment. But if we end up needing to use this for our spring seedlings, then I'm going to have to put a floor in or something to try and stop the mice from being able to get in. I'm not real sure, but we cannot have this for spring seedlings. It was sad enough that my autumn seedlings have basically been devoured, and there is nothing that I can do about it. We took down a couple of trees out the back of the property to get some firewood stocked up, so we've got this nice big pile of firewood and kindling going at the moment, which is handy because the forecasts are for negative temperatures for the week. So this is a nice big pile. These bits here at the front, these small hardwood pieces, are really good for the wood stove for cooking with. This nice dense red gum or whatever it is work really well for the wood stove. They don't smell. You can't use the plain pine in the wood stove because it taints the flavour of all the food, so we have to keep some of this smaller hardwood aside for the wood stove. So we've collected a bunch of that to put aside for that as well. Next thing is to try and get us we need a four-wheeler or a quad or something, because we're carting all of this down from the back of the property using wagons and wheelbarrows. It was a bit of a long-winded job. Alright, so these are gone into various different states. We've got ones that are still very green, squishy and quite heavy. This one has basically not dried out at all. And then we've got some that have done this. So they've got this visible mould patterning. Let me see if I can get this to focus. Now this one is fairly dry, but with that patch of mould, so I've sort of ignored it, but we've got ones that are kind of wet that need to be discarded. So we've got ones here that have this though this particular one is quite dry too. But then you got ones like this that have this white, and this is very moist, so this is just going to grow more, so that one needs to be gotten rid of. But then we do have some that have dried out nicely. These are all, you can hear the seeds in them, so these ones are perfectly dry and fine. And we do have some that are still progressing to dry, that are doing the right thing, and some that aren't. And I think the fact that they're getting frozen is part of the problem. See, like that one there has that bit of mold in it, and it hasn't even dried out. So I'm going to get rid of these ones that have all this mold on them, so it doesn't progress to the other ones, and then hopefully we just get a few more that dry out. Yeah, so this one's pretty dry. You can hear the seeds in it. So that's what they're doing at the moment. We got all different levels of them. So that was just a little bit of a catch up of what we've done over the last few days and where we're sitting at. So today I'm going to try and finish cleaning up my kitchen and sorting out the fridges and freezers, and start my orders and stuff for the grocery shop. So I will make sure to bring you along for that as well. But for the moment, this was just a bit of a Saturday morning catch up. I thought it might be nice, and I will get this uploaded now so everyone can have a look at what we're doing, and then we'll work on the fridges and freezers and inventories and things like that. So have a great weekend, guys, and I will see you again next time.